Gunn. And Lauren Gunn is somebody that works for the Dallas Mavericks. She says, hearing some murmurs that there's momentum building towards Christian Wood signing the minimum with the Lakers. Reminder that in order for a sign and trade to happen, it would have to sign a 3-year deal with them, which I don't see happening. Again, this isn't coming from the Lakers side. This isn't a Laker report. This isn't anything like that. Now, Christian Wood definitely has options, it looks like, right? The Chicago Bulls are a team that supposedly is interested in bringing him in. The Miami Heat, Golden State's name has been thrown out there. You can make an argument Golden State probably needs him more than anybody because he would be their tallest player. But unless a team is willing to shovel out more than the vet minimum, I just don't see him going to those places, right? Because the Lakers are Miami. If they get Damian Lillard, they'll be scary, right? But the Lakers are and should be a bona fide contender, right? Like going to Chicago, that team is on the verge of blowing it all up. They're are on the verge of trading Zach LaVine is what it looks like. And the Knicks, they've explored packages and whatnot. So, if Chicago ends up blowing it up, Christian Wood is kind of just on a bad team again. So what's the point of going there unless they're going to give him the full $10.4 million? Then at that point, maybe it's the money. But is that what he wants? And I talked about this in a previous video, right? Christian Wood needs the Lakers more than the Lakers need Christian Wood. If he goes to Chicago and that ends terribly, he very likely is out of the league. If he goes to the Lakers and he buys in and even if the Lakers don't win, right? Like if he just goes there, buys in, does his part, plays his role, and does well, then we've already seen several examples of people doing that very thing and getting real contracts, right? Malik Monk, Dennis Schroeder just got a contract. He went from fumbling a bag with the Lakers to signing for $5 million a year to signing a vet minimum to now he's making $13 million a year because he played his role. He did what he needed to do. The big bright lights, the big stage. Austin Reeves, right? Austin Reeves could have gotten drafted by Detroit in the 42nd pick, I think it was, and decided instead of that, I'd rather go to Lakers because of the stage. If you are there, everything is amplified. You're seeing all these guys come in. Like Gabe Vincent is having a press tour and stuff and getting all these interviews and whatnot. And it's like, he wasn't doing that stuff in Miami. He was doing stuff, in Miami. He'd have some interviews and stuff like that here and there. But he's doing national television interviews and big streaming interviews and all that stuff because it's the platform that the Lakers provide. If Christian Wood goes somewhere else, and it doesn't work out, even if it's not his fault, even if it's not his character issues, even if it's not the drama and controversy that's kind of been a stigma around him. If he goes to those places it doesn't work out, he very likely could be out the league. We have seen countless players in that same position. And it's not because of his skill set. I mean, the guy is a 17-8 guy, right? He lacks some defense. At times, he kind of just seems to disappear, right? Kind of doesn't seem to have that effort. But how much of that was the environment and situation he was in, right? Being on a team like the Houston Rockets that were falling apart at the seams and just basically a tanking team. James Harden's out. It was an absolute mess. You had James Harden even quit on the team, right? And all those things. It's the environment and just the situation you're in. Then he goes to Dallas with this hope and this promise. And for whatever reason, Jason Kidd didn't really seem to like Christian Wood or get along with Christian Wood. He was their second best player for a good majority of the season and wasn't seeing the floor at times. So again, is that something, I'm not saying it's not part of Christian Wood's fault. He is absolutely to blame here. But we've seen change of pace, change of scenery, change of environment, more structure. I mean, look at guys like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was looked at as a problem in the locker room, a guy with bad character issues, a guy that doesn't play well with others, a guy that is becoming a journeyman, going from this team to that team. And now look, he found his home in Miami, and it was a match made in heaven, right? And I'm not saying that Christian Wood comes to the Lakers and it's a match made in heaven, but you never know, right? What would he rather go to a team like Chicago, even for $10 million? Let's say Chicago was like, hey, we'll give you the $10.4 million, the full amount, right? He still would be better off going to the Lakers because Chicago, if they start blowing it up, then he's stuck in a bad situation. And Not just that, but again, if it doesn't work out, then he's not probably getting a contract period or his vet minimums again. Where if he goes to the Lakers on a vet minimum deal, he will get more long-term longevity. Right? So would you rather get the $10 million now and hope for the best, or would you rather bet on yourself and go take the vet minimum, go with the Lakers, and if you do well and you buy in, then guess what? Your value just shot through the roof, especially if you're winning, especially if you get that NBA championship and you're a key piece to that. If that happens, then his entire narrative changes. Everything changes. And so this is a guy that can have a very solid, big impact on the Lakers, in my opinion. Right? Now, we don't expect him to be this great defensive player, but Darvin Ham has shown that he can turn bad defensive guys into just serviceable ones. That's all we need from him. Right? Just be serviceable. Just be enough to not get played off the court because of your terrible defense. Right? Come in, be a locker room guy. You'll have Darvin Ham, who's a guy that, he's a player coach. He's a guy that plays for his players, that coaches for his players, that has the understanding, that has been in the league, that gets the ins and outs. I'm not saying Jason Kidd isn't. Jason Kidd is too. But Jason Kidd is a little more stern, a little more nonsense, a little more bold and BS, no BS, I should say. Where Darvin Ham, he's got that charisma, right? He's charismatic. He has a way of just talking and conducting himself and knows how to, he's almost like a politician, right? Even with the Russell Westbrook stuff, you heard him up there and he's just up there just swaying the narrative, right? I just think that is something that goes a long way. Being next to a guy like LeBron James and being next to guys like Anthony Davis and seeing the culture and the organization fit and seeing all those championship trophies and seeing all the banners and stuff, it changes people's perspectives, right? It can change the way you approach and see things. And I think if Christian Wood comes in and he buys in and he plays his part, he's going to have long-term success. And it may even end up being with the Lakers, right? Like, what if he's great for the Lakers? What if he really is a key part and the Lakers do win the championship? Why wouldn't the Lakers want to sign him long-term? So now all of a sudden you go from, vet minimums for the rest of your career or out of the league to maybe you sign a 4-year, $60 million contract or something. He's still only 27. So if he just comes in and he plays his role and he plays his part, then he could end up finding this home, right? Sometimes people just want to feel wanted, just want to find a place to call home. This is a guy undrafted, working his tail off. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's probably got a little bit of an ego. That's the only reason that you keep grinding. Like, there's a lot of positives you can take away from Christian Wood and just his journey, right? But there's a line, right? And it seems like he's kind of gone past that line. If he can kind of reel it back and kind of settle in, like, I think Gabe Vincent would go a long way for Christian Wood. I really do, because Gabe Vincent's journey is very similar, right? And he just got a 3-year, $33 million deal. He was starting point guard on a finals team for the Miami Heat, right? He's a guy that had the same level of course to get to this point, and one is in a different place than the other. But I think Christian Wood coming in, having a guy like Gabe Vincent who can relate to him, like, dude, I was in the same boat you were. Undrafted, working hard, having to play in the G League, play in this league, do this, do that, do the dirty work, buy it. Like, I was exhausted. I was tired. I didn't want to do this stuff, right? I wanted to be a guy that, I thought I was this or that or the other. You know what I mean? It's nice to have somebody that you can relate to that had a similar trajectory, that is in a position, they're similar in age, right? So that helps as well, right? So it's not like, he's 22 and it's like, what do you know? You did it for a year and you worked. No, like Gabe Vincent worked his tail off to get to that point. And look what happened. He was rewarded. So it's that same idea, right? There's few teams in the league that, like, if you have success in that place, other teams want you. Miami is another, destination. Like, if you buy into the Miami culture, the Miami system, and you have success there, other teams really want you. Because it's the standard. It's the sort of the vision of that organization. Same thing with the Lakers, right? If you go to Lakers and you have an impact, you live forever in infamy. You're a guy that's going to get paid, that's going to get contracts, that's going to, this, that, and the other. Like, even guys like KCP, right? Like, don't get me wrong, he was a solid player in Detroit and stuff, but he wasn't the KCP we know today. Came to the Lakers molded him, the Lakers kept him until ultimately they traded him in the Russell Westbrook trade, but he was a piece that came in that grew and developed and matured and learned, right? And then next thing you know, he's sought after and he goes to Denver, and Denver, he ends up winning another championship, right? You have templates, you have things that you can compare to and relate to Christian Wood. Like, look, dude, come in, take that vet minimum deal. You know, there's nights where you're gonna get tons of minutes. There's nights where you're gonna get minuscule minutes. There's nights where, you know, you might not even play. Because look at how deep this roster is. Look how talented this roster is. But if you buy in and you are part of the common goal and you're part of this journey in trying to win an NBA championship, then you're in a position to where you're going to have good longevity and success, right? And I'm sure his agent is telling him the same thing. Like, dude, all you're getting is vet minimum deals. Like, yes, let's say Chicago isn't offering $10 million, but they're offering $5 million. It's like, yeah, dude, like you can go to Chicago, make a couple extra million, and put that in your pocket. But what happens if it doesn't work there? What happens if that's a disaster? What happens if they start blowing it up and falling apart? Like, then what? Now you're in this weird position, and it's not what you thought it was for a couple extra million. When you could go to the Lakers, you buy in, you bite your tongue, you play your role, and next thing you know, you're in a position to really have some success, right? And you'll get that new contract. I just think that that's the way that he needs to approach it. And I really think, I do. I think it's a real possibility that he ends up signing with the Lakers. But those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on you. Let me know yours down in the comments below. What do you think? Think Christian Wood signs with Lakers? Do you think he doesn't? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know.